A government minister walked away from power, moved to another country, and then accused his former friends of one of the worst crimes imaginable. This is the true story of Devant Maharaj. And what happened to him shows the ugly side of politics that nobody wants to talk about. His fall from being a minister to making shocking claims about human trafficking from thousands of miles away is something you have to see to believe. By the end of this video, you'll understand why his story matters and why some people call him a hero while others call him a liar. Stay with me because what he said about his former colleagues will leave you speechless. Let me take you back to the beginning. Devant Maharaj wasn't born into politics. His family came to Trinidad from India way back in the 1870s to work on sugar farms. They weren't rich or powerful. They were regular working people trying to build a life. This background shaped everything about Maharaj. He understood what it meant to fight for your place in society. He knew what it felt like to be treated as less important than others. Before he ever got into politics, Maharaj worked a regular government job. In 1993, he started working at the National Lotteries Control Board. This is the agency that runs the lottery in Trinidad. He started in marketing and public relations, and he was good at his job. By 2004, he was ready to move up to deputy director. He went through the interviews, did well, and the independent board that handles these things said he should get the job. But then something happened that changed his whole life. The Prime Minister at the time was Patrick Manning. Even though Maharaj earned the promotion fair and square, Manning personally blocked it. The Prime Minister just said no, and that was supposed to be the end of it. This had been happening in Trinidad for 35 years. The Prime Minister could stop any promotion he didn't like, even if the person deserved it. It was all about personal power and control, but Maharaj didn't accept this. Most people would have been angry, but stayed quiet because you don't challenge the Prime Minister and win. Maharaj was different. He took the government to court. He said what Manning did was illegal and unfair, and you know what? He won. The court said the Prime Minister couldn't block promotions based on personal feelings. This one case changed the system for everyone. Think about that. A regular employee beat the most powerful person in the country in court. That takes serious courage, but winning that case made Maharaj's work life much harder. His bosses weren't happy that he challenged the system. He had to go to court several more times just to protect his basic rights as an employee. In 2005, he used something called the Freedom of Information Act to ask questions about promotions at his workplace. This law was supposed to let people get information from the government, but instead of sending him the information directly, they sent it to his bosses. He suspected they did this to help his bosses find ways to punish him. So he went back to court and won again. Maharaj became known as someone who wouldn't back down. He filed request after request for government information. When they refused to give it to him, he took them to court. He won every single case. The government got so frustrated that they actually changed the law to stop him from asking certain questions. They made the central bank exempt from giving out information, and they made this rule work backwards in time to cover up things he was already investigating. That's how threatened they felt by one person asking questions. During all of this, Maharaj was also fighting for Trinidad's Indian community. In 2002, he became president of an organization for people of Indian origin. He used this position to challenge discrimination. One of his biggest fights was against Trinidad's highest national award called the Trinity Cross. He said this award was biased against Indians and people who weren't Christian. He created alternative awards to protest. Eventually, the government agreed to change the whole award system because of the pressure. In 2005, his organization sued the Telecommunications Authority because radio stations were making hateful comments about Indians and Hindus, and the authority wasn't doing anything about it. He won that case too. He also worked with Hindu organizations, started the first Indian-focused radio talk show in Trinidad, wrote newspaper columns about Indian Caribbean issues, and became chairman of the Indian Caribbean Museum. Everything he did was about giving his community a voice and fighting systems that pushed them down. Then in 2007, Maharaj decided to run for office. He joined a new party called Congress of the People and ran for a seat called Cuba South. He lost that election, but he didn't give up on politics. In 2011, a coalition of parties called the People's Partnership won the national election. The Prime Minister was Kamla Persad-Bissessar. On June 27, 2011, Maharaj was appointed to the Senate and made Minister of Transport. The activist who spent years fighting the government from outside was now inside with real power. As Transport Minister, Maharaj was in charge of the country's buses, roads, and transportation policies. 2 years later, in 2013, he was moved to become Minister of Agriculture, handling farming and food production. These were important jobs with big budgets and lots of staff. Maharaj had made it to the top. He had the office, the security guards, the respect, and the power that comes with being a minister. But in 2015, everything crashed out. The People's Partnership lost the election to another party. Maharaj and his colleagues were suddenly in opposition. Going from being in government to being in opposition is tough. You lose your power, your resources, and your influence. You go from making decisions to just complaining about other people's decisions. For someone like Maharaj who fought so hard to get there, this must have hurt badly. After losing, Maharaj stayed with the ANC, which was the main party in the coalition. But over time, he started having problems with the party leader, Kamla Persad-Bissessar. By 2020, these problems exploded. Maharaj decided to challenge her for leadership of the party. The election was set for December 6, 2020. Another former minister named Devant Maharaj also ran against her, but Maharaj started saying the election wasn't fair. He accused Persad-Bissessar and her team of cheating. He said there were problems with who was allowed to vote, that people were being intimidated, and that she helped write the election rules to favor herself. He wrote letters demanding transparency. He asked for independent observers. He challenged her to a debate. She never responded to any of it. Eventually, Maharaj pulled out of the race before election day. But he didn't quit because he thought he would lose. He quit because he said the election was rigged. He called it a sham. He said this was the third time Persad-Bissessar showed she didn't care about fair elections, only about keeping power. He said she surrounded herself with blind followers who just wanted to keep their Senate and Parliament jobs. He criticized her harshly, saying that at almost 70 years old and having lost multiple elections, she still refused to step aside for younger leaders. After that failed leadership challenge, Maharaj became even more vocal against the ANC. In January 2021, he said he was done with the ANC and its politics completely. He said he wouldn't do the work of the 19 elected ANC members who were getting paid to do their jobs. This was his breaking point. He gave up trying to fix the party from inside. Then came 2022, and Maharaj made a huge decision. He left Trinidad completely and moved to Calgary, Canada. This wasn't a visit. He emigrated for good. A man who spent his whole life fighting for his community in Trinidad, who became a minister, who challenged prime ministers in court, just packed up and left. Why? Because after his leadership challenge failed, his former ANC colleagues turned against him. They ostracized him, which means they shut him out and treated him like he didn't exist. The party he gave so much to rejected him completely, but moving to Canada didn't make Maharaj stop talking about Trinidad politics. In fact, he got even louder. In February 2023, he made claims that shocked everyone. The State Department had put out a report about human trafficking that mentioned senior officials in Trinidad being involved. The Prime Minister suggested these officials were from the opposition. Maharaj publicly agreed and said much more. He claimed that when his party was in government from 2010 to 2015, some of his former colleagues were involved in human trafficking. He said there were internal investigations that he personally helped with, and these investigations proved the claims were true. He stated that certain people who now hold high positions in the ANC regularly brought Venezuelan and Colombian prostitutes for people inside and outside the party. He said both he and Devant Maharaj were offered these services but said no. These were massive accusations. Human trafficking is one of the worst crimes you can commit. Maharaj was saying that former government ministers and current party leaders were involved in this. The police chief ordered an investigation. The head of the Human Trafficking Task Force reached out to Maharaj in Calgary and asked if he would give information to the police. Maharaj said yes, he would fully cooperate. The ANC and Kamla Persad-Bissessar strongly denied everything. They said Maharaj was lying. The party even allegedly spread old photos and documents trying to make him look bad. Maharaj said the ANC was running a smear campaign against him. They were sharing pictures of him with an ex-girlfriend and spreading false information about her. He asked the police to investigate this smear campaign along with his statement about the human trafficking. Persad-Bissessar said she never knew about any report Maharaj made about prostitution and human trafficking when they were in government. Maharaj responded by asking if anyone really expected her to admit she knew about it. He pointed out that admitting she knew would make her guilty too. The whole thing became a war of words. Who was telling the truth? Was Maharaj a whistleblower exposing real crimes, or was he a bitter ex-minister making false claims because he lost a power fight? Throughout 2023 and 2024, Maharaj kept commenting on Trinidad politics from Calgary. He wrote letters to newspapers attacking Persad-Bissessar's leadership. He questioned if she was fit to lead the opposition. He compared her to old politicians in other countries who refused to step down. His criticisms were harsh and personal. Some people respected him for speaking out. Others dismissed him as someone who was just bitter about being pushed out and was trying to hurt his former friends from the safety of another country. So where is Devant Maharaj now as we get close to the end of 2025? He lives in Calgary, Canada, far away from Trinidad's political battles. He's no longer a minister, no longer a senator, no longer an insider with power. He's an outsider looking in, commenting on events from thousands of miles away. His claims about human trafficking remain unresolved. Nobody has been charged or arrested based on what he said. The investigation seems to have gone nowhere. Though we don't know all the details, his reputation in Trinidad is split down the middle. To some people, he's a hero who stood up against corruption even though it cost him everything. He's someone who refused to stay quiet about wrongdoing just because speaking up was hard. He's a man who gave up his political career rather than compromise what he believed. To other people, he's a troublemaker who can't let go of old fights. He's someone who makes serious accusations without real proof. He's a former insider who turned on his own party because they rejected him when he wanted to be leader. The truth is probably somewhere in between. Maharaj's story shows how politics can destroy people. He went from activist to minister to exile in about 15 years. He saw the heights of power and the depths of rejection. He made enemies of people who used to be friends. He burned bridges that can never be fixed. Whether his claims about human trafficking are true or not, they define how people see him now. He'll always be remembered as the former minister who made those accusations. His legacy is complicated. His early activism made real changes. His court cases set important rules about government transparency and fair treatment of employees. His work for the Indian community raised awareness about discrimination and led to actual policy changes. But his later years have been full of conflict, accusations, and exile. His relationship with the unseen ended badly. His claims about human trafficking hurt reputations, but led to no arrests. His current role is basically a political commentator living abroad. What makes Maharaj's story interesting is what it shows about Caribbean politics. Personal relationships matter as much as policies. Party loyalty is expected, and breaking it gets you punished hard. Power struggles inside parties can get vicious. People who challenge leaders often end up isolated and pushed out. Serious accusations get made but rarely lead to actual legal results. And someone can go from insider to outsider very fast when they stop playing by the rules. Looking at his whole life, you see patterns. Maharaj always challenged authority. He challenged his boss and the prime minister when they blocked his promotion. He challenged government secrecy. He challenged discrimination against Indians. He challenged party leadership when he disagreed. This consistency is admirable. He doesn't change his principles based on what's convenient. But this same quality also limited his political success. Politics often needs compromise, diplomacy, and knowing when to pick your battles. Maharaj fought every battle, and eventually he ran out of friends. His move to Canada is the ultimate form of giving up or escape, depending on how you see it. Maharaj tried changing the system from inside for years through activism, court cases, and his leadership challenge. When that didn't work, he left completely. He quit the party, quit the country, and now comments from outside. Some might say this is giving up. Others might say it's protecting himself. After being shut out by former colleagues and seeing his accusations ignored, maybe leaving was his only real choice. Subscribe to follow more shocking Caribbean political stories.